be launching a tasty pastry. It's a low-carb Pop-Tart. It's got 3 to 4 grams of net carbs, and we love this show. This is our best place to be in LA.
Welcome back to Legendary Foods Muscle in the Morning. I'm Dave Palumbo, and today is Friday, November 18th, 2022. And let's find out what's going on in the world of bodybuilding and fitness. If you're a Shaun Clarida fan, this news is either going to make you really upset or really excited, depending on how you felt about the possibility of him competing in both the Open and 212 Olympias this year. Because this week, Shaun's camp got word from the IFBB Pro League officials that he was not going to be granted permission to take part in both divisions. Now, given that Shaun's already heard back about this, you'd imagine that Kamal El-Gargni and Angel Calderon have also heard similar things, given that they also both qualified to compete in both the Open and 212, which means that they're all got some choices to make. Given the sheer difference in size, you'd imagine that they're all going to opt to stay at home, which would make sense given that the division title is up for grabs right now. But at the end of the day, you never know until you know. But considering that the clock is getting closer and closer to striking midnight, it seems likely that we're going to have our answer a whole lot sooner than later. Let's just play out a hypothetical thought exercise for a minute by saying that all three of these guys go and decide to jump ship and head for the Open. That's assuming Kamal would be granted an invite. Because at this point, this whole thing truly gets blown wide open, and it would set the stage for a dark horse contender like Kerrith Bajjo to step up and take advantage. If you've been following Kerrith's prep over the last few weeks, one of the things that's really become evident as he's dialed it in is the amount of quality muscle that he's put on already this past year. The look that he brought to last year's Olympia was good enough to lend him a spot in the top 10, which was huge in and of itself. But now this time around, he's coming back bigger and better conditioned with fewer obstacles standing in his way. So depending on what happens over these next few weeks, he could easily be looking at a top 5 spot when it's all said and done. I don't remember exactly who said this, but a few days ago I remember hearing or reading someone say that the unhappiest people are born at the top because they were given everything. So they can't ever truly understand what the rush is that comes from working their way all the way up the chain. But when you take that into consideration and the fact that Brandon Hendrickson worked his way up to the top, fell down, and then worked his way back up again, you'd have to imagine that he's probably loving life right about now because he knows what it's like to be on both sides of the spectrum. And that doesn't even take into account the secondary benefits of understanding all too well what it feels like not to have things go your way. Because that alone can serve as a major driving factor during the dog days of someone's prep when all they can think about is not wanting to experience that pain again. So even though it may not have seemed like it at the time, he's actually got to see the best of both worlds, and that makes him a very dangerous man to everyone else in the division. You ever meet someone who doesn't have an internal narrative, meaning they don't have a story or some weird set of self-limiting beliefs that keeps them trapped under some self-imposed glass ceiling? They always make a fascinating case study because they have this weird self-assuredness about them that can only come from being supremely confident in your own ability to handle any situation. And if you've been following the progress that Hunter Labrada has made up to this point in his career, one of the things that's been pretty obvious from the jump is the fact that he's someone who clearly doesn't adhere to the narrative. Once he gets an idea in his head for what he wants to do, it's only a matter of time before he makes it happen. And it's almost impossible to execute without the degree of efficiency that he has if you're held. And it's almost impossible to execute with that degree of efficiency if you're held down by all sorts of self-limiting beliefs. Year after year, it's been a steady climb for Hunter, and I can't imagine that he'll manage to lose his footing and slip up now. And that does it for yet another edition of Muscle in the Morning. I'm Dave Palumbo, reminding you to always be true to your passions. And make sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.